Are some players that you trusted on a complete bust for fantasy football this year? Myself and James are going to get into it and a lot more on this week's episode of the Dynasty Hotseat Dynasty Show. Let's go. James, hello, my friend. Hopefully you're doing really, really well. No Ali this week, unfortunately. He's feeling a little bit under the weather, but we do miss him, so we're going to roll with the best two from the Hot Seat crew. James Artmy, how you doing?
Yeah, all good, mate. Yeah, it's obviously a shame that Ali's not here, mourning that latest Bucks defeat, I think, isn't he?
I was going to say, I didn't want to say maybe too soon for him. I can't. I'm trying to talk about other teams as little as possible until I'm sure the Chiefs are going to make the playoffs, and then I'll roll into it, James. I'm just holding back for now at least. Anyway, so we're going to get into loads of stuff that we noticed from week 12 and just kind of take a little moment maybe to reflect on what's happened in the first 12 weeks of the NFL season. I'm going to talk about the rankings that I currently have for Dynasty. I'm going to go through QB, going to go through wide receiver and running back. We've got what Ali was going to chat about as well. Maybe not all doom and gloom for some of these players that we might have considered to be busts. And James, you've got your topics as well, including, as you've probably seen on the thumbnail of this episode, these rookie running backs. Are they, or is one in particular, can we consider him a bust? We'll get to that later, so make sure you stick around and make sure, of course, you're hitting like and subscribe as well to the video. It always helps out. If you've already subscribed, hey, thank you. Love to hear from you in the comments as well. Say, hey, what do you think about these topics? James, I'm going to kick things off with my quarterback rankings. All right, so later this week over on X, you'll be able to check out what I'm calling the Inferno Index, which is just my rankings of both Dynasty and college players. We're going to go with the Dynasty rankings in November. Here are my ranks at quarterback, James. I would love to hear your thoughts on it. All right. In at 1, I've got Josh Allen. 2, Lamar Jackson. 3, Patrick Mahomes. 4, I've got in Jaden Daniels. At 5, I've got Jalen Hurts. At 6, I've got Drake May. 7, Justin Herbert. 8, Joe Burrow. 9, I've got Caleb Williams. And in at 10, I've got Baker Mayfield. James, does anyone stand out to you there in terms of anyone you think is too high, anyone you think is too low? I think I can fire up a graphic on the screen to help people out at home. I know it's not the clearest and most clean graphic, but hopefully you'll be able to see it a little bit there. Those are the rankings I've got. James, who stands out to you there, or is everything just great?
I know what the comments are going to say is too low. With Drake May there, obviously we've spoken about him on the previous week. So if you haven't checked those out, have a watch of those videos. But yeah, that's obviously much lower than the consensus for Drake May at the moment. But we've obviously spoke about it, and I understand your sort of rationale behind it. I think obviously most people probably have Mahomes and May switched around. I'd imagine on that. But yeah, we like you said, we've spoke about it already, so it's not a big surprise to me. I like to see Caleb Williams in the top 10. It'd be interesting with Baker Mayfield and how the rest of his season plays out after he picked up that injury at the weekend, and he's not been the same as he was earlier on in the season. I would have been fully on board with Mayfield as a top 10 quarterback, but things haven't gone so well for the Bucs in recent weeks, so it's not necessarily mean that we have to drop him down instantly. Obviously, these are dynasty rankings, but it's just something to bear in mind, I think, because I think this might be sort of a bit of a trend for the Bucs for the rest of the season, where they've had so many injuries, and if he's now dealing with a shoulder injury as well, things just aren't looking as rosy for them. So I think we might see him sort of drop down to maybe that sort of 11 to 15 range. But yeah, I'm all for those rankings, to be honest. Like I said, only those ones I've already mentioned where you could pick holes in them.
Absolutely love it. Thank you very much. Let me know in the comments what you think. Am I way too low on Drake May? That seems to be the one that does stand out, but I just think those other guys are more elite in terms of fantasy points that they're going to be scoring in the foreseeable future. Just for now, anyway. May could still move up, but I mean, for me, Hurts has just proven it. Mahomes and Allen and Jackson just proven it. And the floor on Daniels is much, much higher in my opinion. So that's why May stays there, but it doesn't mean he can't move up in the future. So let's move along, James, to Ali's first topic. We're going to have a little bit more of a chat about this. So Ali, before he was unable to make the show, has put some notes on our show sheet, which is great. So he's going to talk about Cam Ward in particular, saying maybe it's not all doom and gloom for Cam Ward. He said he's not turned the ball over in the last 3 games. He's always playing from behind. He's got a passing and a rushing touchdown against the very good Seahawks defense this week. The Titans do have the number 1 overall pick, but as I'm sure a lot of people will know if they've watched the most recent mock draft on the Dynasty Hotseat, quarterback class stinky this year. I would be surprised if a quarterback goes at that 1 overall slot. It seems like an ideal chance for them to really bolster that defense of theirs. So I don't see them taking a QB there. And then he has a question as well, which is, would you take JJ McCarthy or Cam Ward in Dynasty right now? Or, can I get a voucher to Subway? Will that be okay? Can I get that? So I don't know. What do you think about Cam Ward, James? And then at the end, who would you prefer, him or JJ McCarthy?
I think that question at the end is it's just a horrible thing to have to answer, isn't it? But I would be taking Cam Ward over JJ McCarthy. Look, one was taken first overall, and one was taken somewhere around 10th overall, and it was a little bit of a reach at the time. I know one of them has got Justin Jefferson, Jordan Madison, and Cam Ward hasn't really got anyone. But you take the guy that was good enough to be taken first overall and hasn't completely shut the bed through his first 6 starts. Cam Ward hasn't been great, but we saw some signs this weekend. I think this was his first 20-point game as a quarterback, fantasy points.
Yeah.
And we literally spoke last week about how he was struggling to get double figures. He was worse than a kicker, famously, in your game last week.
Yeah.
So look, it's not easy for these quarterbacks, but JJ McCarthy has got one of the best offensive play callers in the league. Cam Ward's head coach has just been sacked halfway through his rookie season, so I'm willing to take the bet on him being the better asset. Obviously, JJ McCarthy's probably going to have a better chance to turn things around with that elite play calling head coach. But it's not something you really say. That Subway voucher might be more appealing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's always too early. I mean, if we're still writing off quarterbacks in the age where we're speaking about Baker Mayfield, we're speaking about Sam Darnold, we're speaking about, let's not forget Jared Goff either, by the way. He was written off once upon a time as well. These guys get written off all the time, so I'm not ready to write off either of them just yet. Who would I go for? I think I might lean. I don't know why I'm leaning JJ McCarthy. I don't know. I think it's, well, actually, I do know. It's Kevin O'Connell is why I'm leaning JJ McCarthy. I trust Kevin O'Connell to sort it out more than anyone over at the Viking staff. I actually think if you swap them around, I would take Cam Ward. You know what I mean? If Cam Ward was on the Vikings, I'd take Cam Ward. I'll just take the guy who works for Kevin O'Connell in that debate. But yeah, I'd be looking to move out of both of them if possible. So, James, let's move on to your first topic. We're going to stay on this quarterback trend. Hey, maybe we'll talk about Cam Ward and JJ McCarthy again, because you got to chat about some backup QBs, right?
Yeah, my first topic is how many backup quarterbacks are actually just better than their starters?
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily mean just the starter on their team, which I think has been the case for a few of them this year, but just so many other starter quarterbacks. We see obviously loads of these teams, they're drafting rookie quarterbacks because they want to take advantage of that rookie deal, and they can build the roster much easier if they've got their starting quarterbacks on a rookie contract. But we've also seen the likes of Baker Mayfield, obviously Jared Goff a few years ago, sort of come back out of nowhere to be viable starters, or even above average viable NFL quarterbacks. Yeah. So this week, it's been the Jameis Winston story. But not just Winston, obviously Davis Mills is starting for the Texans, and I think they've won back-to-back games now. Obviously a big win over the Bills. And there was a friend of the show, Tom Strachan, tweet Davis Mills has been a back-to-back top 10 fantasy quarterback the last 2 weeks. You have to go back to 2023 for CJ Stroud to have achieved that. I think that was his rookie year. And it's not just those guys. We've had Jacoby Brissett this year, who's still scoring 18 to 20 points every week he starts.
Yeah.
Mac Jones looked good for the 49ers when he was playing, not necessarily for fantasy, but you obviously spoke about him as a buy as well a week or two ago, because he looks like he's earned himself the chance to start somewhere else. I think he's under contract for the 49ers next year, so unless someone trades for him, it might have to be the year after that he gets that opportunity. But how many of these quarterbacks are we seeing that have been relegated down depth charts but are actually just performing better than the starters? And we also just spoke about JJ McCarthy. Carson Wentz, I mean, it wasn't great, but just ask the pass catchers in Minnesota, and I think Carson Wentz would be their preferred option right now. And we might see, is it Max Brosma? Is that his name this week? With the soft benching of the concussion protocol for JJ McCarthy. So look, being that, if we're talking about it from like a dynasty perspective, being that guy that's rostering 10 quarterbacks can be very annoying. But I think this year it's kind of looked that can also pay off, because you roster these guys that get cut because they're no longer the starter on their team. Someone just drops them to waiver in your league. You can pick them up for free, and then Baker Mayfield, Daniel Jones, Jacoby Brissett. They've been really solid dynasty quarterbacks for us this year and in previous years as well.
Yeah, Daniel Jones, how could we forget him as well? It's almost like it's a really difficult position to play, James, and it takes a while for even the people at the top level to really get to grips with it. It's unbelievable the transformation some of these guys have made, and how much others struggle. So if you see someone get dropped, don't mind picking them up. Well, I feel some small validation for my Davis Mills takes a couple of years ago, which ended up being terrible then. So I was just too ahead of the game, James. That's what I'll say. I was just too ahead of the curve on old Davis there. So let's move back to my rankings, shall we? And we're gonna go this time. Let's hit up some wide receivers. Well, we do wide receivers. Let's do that. Let's go wide receivers. Let me just try and grab the graphic and pull that back up again. There we go. We got it ready here. Let's display it on the show as well. There we go. So my wide receiver ranks, and what you'll notice at the top, we have a new number one. Jackson Smith-Njigba, for me now, I think, has to move ahead of Jamar Chase. He's my number one wide receiver for Dynasty. Jamar Chase staying steady at 2, Puka Nacua in at 3. I've still got Justin Jefferson in at 4. Now, the trendy thing right now is push him down on Keep Trade. I think he's at 7 right now, which is a bit crazy. He's still at 4 for me. I've got Amon-Ra St. Brown in at 5, Malik Neighbors at 6, Egbuka in at 7, CeeDee Lamb at 8, Rashee Rice at 9, and Drake London sitting at wide receiver 10. James, anyone stand out to you there? What do you think?
I mean, they're all so good. It's hard to really pick holes in it. Obviously, the Jefferson thing, like you said, the trendy thing is to move him down. I find it hard to get him outside that top 5. We just know how good that guy is. And maybe we'll get the answer this week if JJ McCarthy isn't the starter, if it really is just all his fault. Maybe a little bit surprised CeeDee Lamb down at 8, but I'll probably have him above Egbuka still. But I can understand the rest of those. CeeDee Lamb obviously might not be the number one receiver on his team to own anymore, It's interesting to see how high George Pickens gets this season. I'm pretty sure on Keep Trade Cut, he's just outside the top 10. And I reckon a few more weeks and they'll flip because he's just scoring more fantasy points. Obviously, we're on board with Lamb being the better of the two, but at the moment, Pickens is the hot hand, isn't he? So, that'd be interesting to see.
Can you imagine what George Pickens is going to be like when he gets a big contract? Can you imagine, James? Like, that guy's already... that guy's already bonkers, though. You give him hundreds of millions of dollars. Like, I don't know what is going to happen with him. I got to slightly hinge on him a little bit, but if he keeps scoring like he has been, it's going to be it's going to be hard to deny for sure. The one I really wanted to move up, I wanted to move Rashee Rice up, but I was like, no, I need to put my homerisms to one side. I need to leave him there. We need to be slow and steady. But he is, yeah, he could be inside that top 7 by the end of the year if he's going to continue to get 140 plus yard receiving games like he did at the weekend. So those are my ranks for now. Again, in the comments, who stands out for you? Who do you think I've got too high? Who have I got too low? Who's not on there at all that you think should be? Let me know in the comments. That would be great to hear. So now we're going to move on to Ali's next topic, James. Now, Ali wanted to talk a little bit about Saquon Barkley. So he's asking, do you think Saquon Barkley is now a slight issue if you are on a contending team? If we just look at the ranks for the year, Saquon Barkley sitting at running back 13 overall for the year, and he was the runaway running back 1 this time last year. James, do you have Saquon Barkley in any contenders, and are you worried that he's maybe not pulling his weight?
I'm trying to think. Might have him on one like playoff contending team, and I think it was probably a team that I thought was going to be doing a little bit better. I did actually try and buy him last week as well from a team that was, I don't know, like 10th. But it was, I think the difficulty is we've just, like you said, you've seen that season last year and how good it can be with Saquon Barkley in that Eagles offense. It's kind of hard to sort of give up on that and sell him and move on. So this team that, even though they were 10th, they've just said, oh, I can't sell him for that. Like I can't afford to lose him because next year it's going to be impossible for me to buy a running back that has that ceiling. But if you've got him on a contending team that you think is a surefire sort of top 2 team, it is an issue because that Eagles offense just seemed to only have half of football in them. I think they've got issues on the offensive line now with injuries and stuff like that, and I think that's causing problems for them. It's a problem. I don't know. I'm not really sure what you can do though, because you're losing so much value if you try and move him, because he's just not the same player. So no one's going to buy him for the same, same kind of assets.
Yeah, and you have to start him as well, right? You can't not.
Yeah, you can't bench him.
Saquon Barkley. I've managed to finally pull the trigger on, although he had a pretty good week this week, AJ Brown. I'm now like, no, if I've got 8 AJ Brown shares, I'm starting him in 4 leagues. I'm dropping him in 4 leagues. I'm not going all in on AJ Brown, but I think I would still have to go all in on Saquon. I've just looked up the numbers, James. It's shocking, I would say. This time last year, Saquon Barkley had over 100 more fantasy points than he does right now. That's the difference of right now. He's got roughly about the same amount of points that Alvin Kamara has scored this year. Is the difference. So you could stack a whole Alvin Kamara on top of Saquon this year, and he would only then be getting what he was at this time last year. So yeah, you definitely notice a bit of a bleed, probably roughly around your, just under 10 points per game there. So yeah, I'm guessing you do notice it with Saquon, but I still trust him. I think come playoff time, weather gets a bit colder. We always talk about it being Derrick Henry season. Yeah, it was running back season. So I think Saquon could pick it up for sure. Well, maybe not according to you, James, because I think your next topic is, are any teams actually any good? Like any players any good either? Who knows?
Yeah, it's just hard. It's hard at the moment to figure out who are the good teams. Who are we going to be watching, towards the end of the playoffs? Like,
no idea.
I think of any season I can remember, obviously this is easy to say because we always have this sort of short-term memory when it comes to this sort of thing, but it feels like the playoffs are more wide open this year than they have been in any sort of recent year. And I think we're kind of used to it in the NFC. It does rotate around a little bit. The Eagles are quite often obviously there, but you normally have the 49ers looking really good, the Lions, at least in recent years. But the issue is with the AFC at the moment, all those elite quarterbacks are either they're not the same or their teams just aren't the same. Yeah. Lamar has obviously been out and is now back, but he certainly is not the same player that we're used to seeing. It does look like the Ravens are going to make the playoffs because I think obviously they'll just win that division now because who else is going to win it? The Bills are now 3 games back from winning their division, and obviously the Chiefs are only just above 500. So, like, we're not going to see home playoff games for all of those teams in sort of the last stages of the playoffs. And obviously with the Eagles as well, like I've already said, it seems like their offense can only show up for one half a game. So it's just really hard to sort of see who is going to be making the playoffs or who's going to be having meaningful games towards the end of the season. And then obviously for fantasy, that just means it makes it hard for us, I think, to target players to buy for the end of the season. I think at the moment the Rams are by far the best team in the NFL and they're the best offense to buy assets from. We spoke about this in a recent video about buys. So they're the only team really that I feel sort of confident is going to be putting up 30 points a game, or at least a team with viable startable fantasy assets. But maybe it also, because these teams are sort of still struggling to get in and they're not cakewalking it into the playoffs, that maybe that means that they're all going to be worthwhile players as well. So, Lamar struggling, Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, they're all going to be playing competitive games that they need to win in week 16, week 17. So maybe that actually means that they are perfect players for the playoffs. Like you said with Saquon, who are you going to trust more? Like when the Eagles have a must-win game to secure the number 1 seed in week 17, which is probably still going to happen because they still win enough games to get there. Saquon could easily just have 3 or 4 touchdowns in that week and just win the championship for you, couldn't he? So I think it's difficult to know. I think that's the thing. It's in the middle and we're not sure. But I just wanted to sort of say how it's weird to see those elite teams in the AFC struggling.
I don't like it, James. Let's say that. I'm not a fan of seeing it. If it wasn't for Jameis Winston catching that receiving touchdown, I would have lost my mind completely. I think that really cheered me up. Because that was just after, I think, Kareem Hunt, fumbled in the 4th quarter, and I was, furious. And then, 30 seconds later, Jameis called that receiving touchdown. I was filled with joy. So that really saved me. I think those good vibes pushed over to the Chiefs, and we got through in the end. But, yeah, that was tricky, and you're right. It's tough sledding for so many teams right now, apart from the Rams. Shout out Lewis Wood, who's probably loving life right now. Absolutely great. So let's move on now to my next set of rankings. It's the running backs, James. So who have I got for you? Here are my running back rankings currently. So I've got Bijan still in at number 1, which, people have arguments about. I've got Gibbs in at 2. I've got Devon Achane at 3. I still have Ashton Jeanty at 4 for now. Travion Henderson at 5. Christian McCaffrey at 6. Jonathan Taylor at 7. Omarion Hampton in at 8. We got James Cook at 9. And then the aforementioned Saquon Barkley in at running back 10 again for now. I found this by far the trickiest list to make. So I don't know if there's a lot of differences here. This might be one that people are a bit funny about some of the rankings. Anyone stand out to you, James?
Yeah, again, the one that people are going to comment about will probably be Jonathan Taylor down at 7. I think he's obviously the season he's had. They're going to be people saying that you should have him above. The likes of Henderson, Jeanty, probably even Achane. I think is probably a top 3 in consensus. Jonathan Taylor. Gibbs is my number 1 just because he can have these 50-point weeks like he just did.
Yep.
Which. It's not to say that Bijan Robinson can't, but it just doesn't have the offense that are going to be putting up that many points. And obviously Tyler Algier just seems to vulture touchdowns every other week. So I think Gibbs number 1, Jonathan Taylor maybe. I like to see James Cook there though. It's just been so reliable the last couple of seasons. And Barkley just hanging into the top 10. You might see people have like Breece Hall. Around that spot and not Barkley down, but other than that, not many complaints about it. Like I said, it's difficult to. They're all so good, and I think with the running backs, it's so close between them all that there's not really then many tiers between them. So probably all the way down to Taylor, you could easily flip them around, and it wouldn't really take much convincing.
Yeah, you could literally turn it upside down actually, and you could still make an argument from 7 all the way up to 1. Yeah, this is just where I kind of felt comfortable for now, but running back appears to be the most fluid of all these. Obviously, their lifespan is a lot less than the other positions, which is kind of why. Yeah, I don't know. This might change. It's coming out this week. Take a screenshot of this if you want, everyone. This might change because I think the one I'm going to change, maybe even today before I put these rankings out this week. I think I want to move Gibbs to number 1. Actually, I think I will move Gibbs to 1 because he's just been that good. The main knock on him was that he's in a shared backfield. He's not really anymore. It's his backfield now. So I think Gibbs is going to be my 1, and Bijan will drop down. I'm still going to keep Achan. I'm a big believer in Devin Achan. I think he's another one like Gibbs that can hit those 50-point games very, very often. So I'm going to keep him there for now anyway. So let's move on to Ali's final topic that he made some notes on. He wanted to talk a little bit about Brock Bowers, but and Trey McBride. He wanted to just ask a main question though: is how far is Brock Bowers ahead of Trey McBride in your rankings? Well, I'm guessing the answer is 1 for everyone. And would you prefer McBride right now if you were on a contending team? I'm sure that Ali would bring up, how these guys are doing. In terms of fantasy points per game, McBride is 4 points per game better off than Brock Bowers right now. So if you're on a contender, would you take a McBride over a Bowers, or do you still go Brock Bowers?
Yeah, I don't think there's enough difference for me you could haggle it and try and get a little bit extra if you're going to make that straight swap. Maybe you could ask for a third on top of McBride to make the swap, but I wouldn't bother. I think I'm fine with taking McBride. If I'm looking to win a championship this year, there's not enough difference in value to scupper the chances of that deal going through, basically. So it's not worth haggling over it. He might even have to pay a third on top of McBride to make the change just because of how things are going. And obviously, if someone's got McBride, they're questioning, well, why do I need to trade him? Like, he's playing so well, he's scoring so many points. Why would I bother? So you might have to actually pay something to just convince them to make the deal, just to make it worth their while. But yeah, there's obviously, like I said, the back-to-back in rankings, it's getting closer basically every week that McBride scores 20 points and Bowers scores 12 or, whatever it is, just because the offenses are functioning differently at the moment. So yeah, I'm more than happy to swap.
I think Brock Bowers is just a better overall player. I'd love to have either on a team, but I'd probably still just stick with Bowers. If it ends up that you end up losing the final because the other team had Trey McBride, then damn, that's maybe a mistake. But in all likelihood, hopefully they won't have that problem. So I'll stick with Bowers. He's definitely my tight end 1, but McBride's definitely 2, and then there is a giant chasm between those for sure. And James, I think you got one more topic for us. Thank you for sticking around, because this is the topic the thumbnail was all about. It's these 2025 rookie running backs. James, what do you got to say about them?
Yeah, so this was obviously like the talking point during the draft, or during draft season anyway, for the months leading up, how good this class was for rookie running backs, some elite prospects at the top. So I just wanted to run through sort of the rankings, their ranks in points per game through the whole season, and then in the last sort of 4 weeks, so from week 9 onwards. So the best performing running back of the class is actually Cam Scatterbo at running back 10. And then we've got Amari and Hampton at 12, Jeanty 13, Judkins 22, Henderson 25, Harvey 31, Marks 36, Monungai 44, and Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt at 45. Obviously, those top 2, Scatterbo out injured for the season, and it doesn't really look like he's going to be anywhere near that sort of asset in the future just because of that injury and kind of player that he was. Hampton obviously been injured for most of the season, so even though he was ranked 12 in points per game, it's in reality he hasn't helped you for weeks. But it looks like he's going to come back soon. They've activated him for the practice window. And yeah, Jeanty in the last 4 weeks is up to running back 10. So there's a slight improvement there. Judkins is 26. The big story has been Henderson, obviously with Stevenson missing time, so he's the running back 3 the last 4 weeks. And then the others, it's not too much of a change. I think Harvey's 37, so even though Dobbins has missed time, Harvey hasn't really capitalised on that. Woody Marks is 32, Monongai is running back 19, so obviously with Swift missing time, he's had more of a role. Prosky Merritt 56, basically irrelevant. So yeah, I think obviously the fun now is Jeanty heading into bust territory, with obviously, he was the 101 in rookie drafts. He was very highly drafted in redraft, and I think you can argue there's not really an argument. He was certainly a bust for redraft purposes. He was probably inside the top 4 or 5 running backs taken, and he's running back 13 on the season. Maybe there's a little bit of a silver lining there with the Chip Kelly firing this week, that they might figure things out, the Raiders. I don't think there's too much to take away from these players, because this is kind of the ride, how it goes with rookie running backs, where it's ups and downs, and they sort of push on at the end of the season. And I think the top 5 running backs that were drafted, at least those guys, it looks like they are going to have a strong finish to the season. I think when Hampton comes back, he'll have that whole backfield of the Chargers. Obviously, Najee Harris is not there anymore. They've just got a couple of guys there, haven't they? Henderson's already sort of pushing through. Judkins has been solid, but obviously plays for the Browns. And we really need to see more from your guy RJ Harvey, don't we? Because he's been a bit disappointing so far this season. But I think those 5 are in for a strong finish this season, and then maybe we'll have a different view of these rookie running backs after that. But at the moment, it's a little bit meh. Jeanty is sort of borderline. We need to see a big turnaround in that Raiders offense next season. We need to see him scoring as many touchdowns as he did. Was it this week or the week before? Where I think he got 20-odd points. That needs to be happening almost every week for him to pay off sort of that draft price and that dynasty rankings.
Yeah, he was one that some people, who I had on doing mock drafts last year, had him ranked before he played a snap as dynasty running back 1 overall, because the tape was so good coming out of college, because he looked so impressive. And no, Boise State didn't have the strongest schedule, but he was doing it against teams like Oregon as well, teams that you would expect to put up a better fight. It just seems like the physicality of the NFL has made a difference to him. I thought, you just look at it. You look, who's the head coach? Oh my God, it's Pete Carroll. This is going to be a match made in heaven here over at the Raiders. Raiders football, run the ball. It just hasn't worked out. It seemed like everything was just meant to click into place, and it's just not. He's sort of matching pace with Travis Etienne on the year, and that's never great whenever you say that out loud. So Etienne's playing bad enough that I think a lot of people assume he's going to lose the job to Bashal Tutin whenever he's back fully healthy. So that's the kind of level that Jeanty's at. I think the fact that he's still my running back 4, as we spoke about, that's almost based on last year completely. If he was a guy that was drafted in the 3rd round and you've seen what you've seen out of him this year, you'd be like, he would maybe crack the top 10. So it's kind of based on the tape from college more than anything else. So I agree with you. He's really got to step up his ideas, and hopefully we can start to see the Ashton Jeanty of old as the season goes on. We have seen Trevion Henderson start to break out. We have seen some of these other rookies have flashes, and like running back 13 on the year, hey, that's not bad. It's fine, but I think we all expected Jeanty to be, like you said, in redraft, he was taken in those top 4 running back positions. So that's where you would expect him to be. So for now, anyway, got to put the big bus sticker on him for me, James, which is a little bit sad. And it is a sad way to end the show, but I've had a lot of fun. Ali, we will see you next week, hopefully. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Anything that you liked here, remember, leave a comment. We'd love to hear from you. If you have not already, make sure you like and subscribe as well. Loads of stuff coming out on the Dynasty Hotseat. If you've not seen it, we have another 2026 rookie mock draft that is out with the great Dynasty Coach A really good watch. We have another Devi show coming out this week. We've got 9 things coming up to you in a few days. We've got loads of stuff going on at the Dynasty Hotseat, because you know what it is. It is an absolute certified inferno. And for anything Dynasty you want to know, you want to keep it locked right here on the Certified Inferno. I will see you next time. Goodbye.